Hi there, welcome to I Alone Fly Tarot. I'm going to do a tarot card reading for Taurus energy, and we're going to read it from a couple different perspectives because not everyone is going to harness these energies that are available to them in the same way. We're going to harness them differently depending on how we view life, our emotional maturity, if we're more loving and balanced and just and fair, or if we're more stubborn or selfish or immature, So everybody can harness their Taurus energy differently. We've got free will. We have the free will to learn lessons in life and temper our more worldly, egoic nature. And some people haven't learned those lessons yet. Some people don't want to temper their more worldly, egoic nature. They're happy living their life that way. And, to a degree, we've all been there because we've all been young and immature, right? So it's just to see the truth that people are where they're at and view life the way they view it. Taurus energy that all of us can tap into can have to do with our philosophy of life. It's like the Supreme Court in our own head. We have our dualistic nature. We've kind of debated within ourselves. Should I do this? Should I do that? Should I have more hope and faith and belief in myself and in my dreams and in love? Or should I not? Or make my life about other things that I think will make me happy? And everybody's made those decisions in their life. And then based on their Taurus philosophy of life, that's what they're going to invest their time, energy, and effort into. If they think it's just and fair to make life more about themselves, they're going to keep moving forward, thinking it's just and fair to make their life more about themselves. If they're more materialistic, if they're more just and fair and loving. And we just need to see the truth about different people. But, I think something we have to learn in our life, a counterpart to the Taurus energy, one of the cards that represents Taurus energy is the Hierophant. And a counterpart to the Hierophant would be the High Priestess. And the feminine figures can represent how we think and feel. Shadowy High Priestess is that we kind of use our intuition in a shadowy way to kind of try to manipulate people, use our Taurus Hierophant status, image, charm, looks, money, whatever, to try to manipulate people. High vibe people harness high vibe High Priestess, high vibe Taurus. They really are who they say they are. They're an emotionally loving, intuitive, inspired person who walks the talk. And anybody can try to create the illusion that they're more mature, stable, grounded, just, fair, loving than they really are. And we need to get to know people to find out what their emotional truth is. So, I view this card as the overarching reason for the reading, which is the Six of Swords, which is Aquarius energy, which can have to do with what our dreams are. Is our truth that we're more about the world or ourself, or is our truth that we're more tipped in favor of aligning with our more hopeful, believing, loving nature, having hope and faith and belief in our dreams, looking at life from a higher perspective? Whatever is people's truth at any given moment in their life is how they're going to be moving forward at that time, right? And then the Six of Swords is moving towards the Nine of Wands. Shadowy Nine of Wands can be that people are going to keep being defensive and immature. Defensive to change, because we go through life and we go through these phases of life, but we're meant to close out certain phases of life. And the Nine of Wands is Sagittarius energy, about higher learning and motivation, higher learning and education. We go through a phase of life, we learn lessons. The wands can represent all those different lessons that we've learned. And there kind of gets to be a point in time, if we keep being defensive, to continuing to take the lessons that we've learned, see what are the good things that motivate and inspire us, that we should take with us moving forward, and which ones did we find during that phase of life that maybe we should let go of? What are the good building blocks to take with? What are some things I should maybe let go of because maybe they were kind of immature? Maybe they were kind of caught up in myself or the world, or maybe I was stubborn. Maybe I was too codependent on things, you know? And then the 9s and the 10s and high vibe can be getting ready to close out a cycle. And then it's standing up for yourself. And kind of looking back at a phase of life, just like we were 15 one time, we were 18, we were 21, we were 25, we were 35, we were 45. You know, we all had a way of viewing life, but are we going to keep repeating old patterns over and over and over, like refusing to kind of, again, to see the truth? The 6 of Swords moves away from the 5 of Swords. Something is causing us mental conflict. Well, do we work through the mental conflict of the situation to see the truth of it? So we can move forward taking those lessons. Oh, those are some things I should have good boundaries to. Or people I should have good boundaries to. Or, ooh, maybe I did something that didn't work out the way I thought. I have to have good boundaries within myself. Or do we keep saying, nope, I got mental conflict. I'm going to ignore the truth because, again, the 6 of Swords moves away from the 5 of Swords. We either take action in truth and love and kind of enlightenment and learning lessons, or we kind of keep moving forward more in our pride and our ego and our stubbornness. Nope, I'm not going to change. Nope, I'm not going to do life any differently. If there's people in my life who want me to look at life from a higher perspective, grow or heal or mature myself, work through my mental conflict, work through my inner conflict, work through my any zodiac sign in shadowy, could be more immature. My defensive nature, my immature nature, well, nope, I just got to go. You know, and sometimes it can be people, the 5 of Swords can talk about people who want to win at all costs. It's really just all about them. And they can get in relationships with people or workplaces or whatever. And then other people saw the truth. You are not who you said you were. You created an illusion that you wanted to move forward, inspired. Fire sign energy of Sagittarius is being inspired. You created the illusion, because you're either being truthful and honest and authentic, or you're trying to manipulate people and trying to create an illusion. You created an illusion that you do have good boundaries within yourself, that you're not immature, that you're not egotistical or bossy or controlling or more about yourself or ego and image, you know. You gave the impression it was about love and that you were willing to bring a dream into reality and work together with people like in an emotionally mature, balanced way to bring a dream into reality. And then as time goes by, some other people saw the truth and those people became defensive to them. And that's when those people are like, you know, they had the decision to make. What am I going to do? Am I going to tell the truth? You're right. I am defensive. You're right. I do maybe act kind of immature at times, you know. Or they just like, nope, I'm not going to deal with it. I'll just go find a new job, a new friend, a new relationship. Okay? So this is kind of the end result of what people are going to do one way or the other. What is going on in Taurus energy right now? The 7 of Swords, which, like the 6 of Swords, is Aquarius energy. And in the 7 of Swords, the person is holding the 5 swords, which can kind of talk about your dream, your truth, how you want to take action in life. You have a dream. Some people were deceptive and manipulative, and they were trying to confuse other people about the truth. I want you to stay here in the 2 of Swords, which is Libra energy, represented by the scales of justice. There might be some people in my life who are just and fair, want me to be more just and fair. but I don't want to be. So maybe because I know you really want this dream to come into reality, I think I can be kind of deceptive and manipulative, and I think it'll keep you stuck for a long time because none of us want to give up on our dream, right? If we put work and effort into a workplace, a friendship, or relationship, we'd really like those things to work out. And sometimes people use the fact that they know we would like things to work out, and we have a dream we want to bring into reality, and we want things to move forward, and we can all be kind of defensive to standing up for ourselves and maybe speaking our truth. And this whole life experience for some people was for you to work through all your mental conflict, which is what the Seven of Swords can talk about too. Am I willing to stand up for myself? Am I willing to speak my truth? If I think these people, do I want to see the truth? The Seven of Swords can be how we kind of deceive and manipulate ourselves because we don't want to see the truth. Because if we did see the truth, we have to take action on that truth, speak our truth, and stand up for what we believe in. And in our Taurus energy, we have a philosophy of life. We have a dream. We could be in relationships or workplaces and things with people who we kind of have different ways of operating, different ways of what we think is just and fair, have different dreams, have different philosophies of life. But then when we get in those jobs, friendships, or relationships, it can be really challenging and difficult when we do think someone is being maybe defensive or immature or egotistical or self-centered, or just kind of seeing that I think where you want and expect this to go, the direction, your idea of like the dream life is kind of different than my idea of the dream life. And we all can have problem. It's kind of like the other people are probably just listening to their intuition about, I'm just going to feel this out. I'm not really sure if someone is deceptive and manipulative, if someone is more defensive than I realized, if they're more stubborn or prideful or egotistical or materialistic than I realized. I'm going to listen to my intuition. And the reason this card came out, again, we come in contact with all these different people in the world to help us get clear about our truth. Sometimes there's people who are prideful, egotistical, stubborn, immature, but they don't want to see the truth. Because then they would, if they were to acknowledge the truth that I'm kind of shadowy or egotistical or self-centered or more materialistic than I like to admit, I don't want to see the truth. And so then they can try to stay in denial. That's kind of the Two of Swords. In shadow, it can be, I don't want to see the truth. So, and I might not want other people to view me that way. Maybe some people already did something at a previous job, friendship, or relationship, and they could have done something that did make them seem kind of shadowy. And so then they have this idea, I'm going to take this certain action to try to confuse people about the truth of who I am. People are either being truthful and honest and authentic, or they're trying to manipulate people. They're being kind of deceptive and manipulative. And Aquarius energy, you don't have to be dealing with an Aquarius, but, people can be very bright and very smart, and some people could think, I don't think I have to tell the truth. I want to deceive people about the truth of why I am doing what I'm doing or why I did what I did. I don't want people to view me a certain way because then those people might become defensive to me as I move forward in my life. And if they would be defensive to me, if they knew I was more immature or prideful or egotistical or materialistic or deceptive or manipulative, they would probably be defensive to me moving forward. And I don't want everybody. There might be a couple people I want to move away from, but I might want a lot of people to move forward with me, like in my friend group or my family group or my workplace, right? So, high vibe people who are more just and fair and authentic, have hope and faith and belief in love and hope other people are acting. High vibe Taurus and the Ace of Swords, hoping other people are going to act with character and integrity. But we all have known people, and we know that some people aren't, So, if some shadowy people, the younger we are and the less life experience we have, the more kind of naive and gullible we can be. And we think, oh my gosh, no one would ever do that. And of course, if people were offered an opportunity to move forward, of course they would have good boundaries to their more egotistical, immature, selfish, greedy, immature ways of being. Or they'd choose love. Isn't everybody really ultimately motivated by love? And the whole thing is, not everybody is. We live in a world of duality. There's people who are more aligned with their high vibrational nature of hope and faith and belief and love and motivated to grow and mature themselves, and other people lack that motivation. They're happy living life the way they live it, and, they could be just more about themselves or the world, So, some people are listening to their intuition right now. And then we have the Ace of Pentacles, which in high vibe means that people could have gotten inspired to, if they were moving forward in their life in a certain way, something could have happened that made them like, wait a minute. That's like the Seven of Swords. I'm moving along in life like this, and then it's like, what? And it can be, it's like high vibe energy at the big picture represented by God, shadowy energy at the big picture represented by the devil. There can be different things in life that can kind of catch our attention as we're moving forward in life. And we could think we're on the right path. And then it's like, wait a minute. And then after the Nine of Wands, we have the Seven of Cups. Oh no, the Nine of Cups. And it's kind of like, I like to think of myself as someone who looks at life from a higher perspective, that acts with character and integrity. I don't like to think that I'm immature. The Nine of Cups can be being kind of a little bit more about indulging yourself, or being more self-indulgent, or maybe liking to be in relationships where people kind of indulge you, and basically it's a little bit more about you than working cooperatively in truth and love and justice and fairness. Or defending these things of the world that we indulge in to make us happy, because we don't want to see the truth that maybe I'm not really happy within myself. And so then, instead of working through my own mental conflict and doing this work within myself, I just choose to go indulge myself in things to make me feel better. But as we're going along in life, high vibe energy represented by God can use all these things of the world to try to help people. You're kind of going down a path that, you have the free will to do it. It's just there's going to be consequences for it. And you might not be listening to the truth because you don't want to see the truth. And God can use books, movies, music, other people in the world, to try to get us to see the truth so that we don't keep moving forward, living more from our mind than our heart, and being defensive. Maybe being defensive to indulging ourselves in love. No, I get hurt doing love. If I decide to live more from my mind than my heart, and I decide to move forward being more defensive, then I won't get hurt. And we could then live more from our mind than our heart, where we're kind of letting our egoic nature kind of run our life, and our more authentic, loving nature, well, we don't let that out to play. We have sex with people, is what the wands can talk about. That's just like love, right? And it stops them from having more deep, meaningful relationships, because not seeing that they view like sex as love, and it's like they're completely different things, right? But some people haven't seen through the illusion of it yet. So high vibe people have learned some lessons in life. They've dealt with some people that were more, don't really maybe want to do a more deep, meaningful relationship. Here we have the Three of Pentacles and the Knight of Swords, and the Knight of Swords is people's Gemini energy of their free will nature. Everybody has free will. What is people's truth? Some people, everybody can want to be in relationships. That can be a truth. But the reason these cards came out is, why do we want to take certain jobs, get in certain friendships, get in relationships with people? For some people, it's just to be in a relationship. I just want to have a job. Do you have a job? Okay, I'll work here. I'm looking to hang out with some people. You want to hang out? I want to be in a relationship. Shadowy Taurus can be people who could think that if they're in a relationship or something, that it says something about their worth or their value or their status or their image, and maybe they just want to indulge in a romantic relationship. But it can be shadowy Six of Cups in Scorpio energy. Can be that it can be more emotionally shallow and superficial. I want to be in a relationship. You want to be in a relationship. Let's get in a relationship. We get along well enough. It's not really a deep, meaningful relationship because I'm defensive. But if you want to keep moving forward with me and you have mental conflict and I got mental conflict, well, we can keep moving forward in a relationship. And we'll just hide the fact, maybe that in the Eight of Pentacles, we treat a relationship more like a job. Well, does this seem to, in our human nature, we all want stability and security. We'd all like to enjoy the finer things in life. We all like to have a job, a way of making money, have some people in our life that we can socialize and be friends with and be in romantic relationships, right? But some people do treat a relationship more like a job. Does this make logical, practical sense? I don't want to maybe do love because I get hurt doing love. But I want to look like that shadowy, kind of this shadowy star Aquarius energy. I want to look like I have what other people have. But other people have had a hard time staying in a relationship with me because they've already seen the truth that I'm more invested in, and my truth of what I align with is working with my more worldly view of life, not my more hopeful, believing, loving view of life. And those people already found out that I'm kind of defensive and maybe kind of like to indulge myself in a relationship, get in a relationship, but then I'm kind of defensive to really bringing the dream into reality. I could have created that illusion, been a little deceptive and manipulative to create the illusion that, oh yeah, I'm healed, I'm grown, I'm mature, I'm stable, I'm grounded, I'm a pillar of society. That's kind of like shadowy Taurus. Look at me, I have a certain status or image or money or looks or charm or social clout. I live my life a certain way. I'm a good person. You should get in a relationship with me. And then people do get in a relationship with them. And if they get in a more mismatched relationship, they get in a relationship with someone who doesn't know the truth about them, does get kind of caught up in the dream, moves forward in the relationship thinking, oh, they're motivated and inspired to work together with me cooperatively in truth and love and have a deep, meaningful relationship where we think we both harness our Virgo energy the same. But that's one of the things we could have not realized about some people that we got in relationships with. That some people, Virgo energy and high vibe is putting in work and effort to work through your own fears, insecurities, past pain and heartbreak, self-limiting beliefs, defensiveness, self-centered nature, immature nature, superficial, shallow nature, to free yourself from being tipped more out of balance. I view the sevens as either being a little more tipped into your worldly, egoic nature or your more hopeful, believing, loving nature. Because there's 12 zodiac signs, so majority rules. If Taurus is our philosophy of life, the debate and the argument has gone on within people, and they're either tipped kind of more in favor of one or the other. And we all have our truth and our idea of how we want to keep moving forward in life based on our idea of the dream life. And if we're more defensive or more immature, more superficial, more materialistic, more self-indulgent, and we kind of realize that our truth, our Virgo nature is kind of the aspect of ourselves too that with Gemini, because Gemini and Virgo together make up the magician, is kind of based on our truth and what our truth is, that's what we're going to manifest in our life. Because that's what we invest our time, energy, and effort into, because that's our truth. And we don't realize with some people in our life that we harness our Virgo energy different. One person is kind of more motivated and inspired by the world, and ego and image and getting in a relationship and staying in a relationship with people for those reasons. And they also maybe didn't see some people clearly, because we do tend to think that people are on the same page as us. And, we've all been at stages in our life where we're a little more defensive and we were a little more immature and we wanted to be in relationships and so we can get in relationships and people can think, oh, you think like I do and you're motivated by what I'm motivated by. And we think, oh, well, you're kind of motivated by what I'm motivated by and kind of think like I do. And in a lot of ways, we can have a lot of similarities in common. Taurus can talk about all these different, ways of viewing life, we could be from the same town, we could be from the same country, we could have the same religion, we could be the same race, if that's important. We could have similar backgrounds. Say if people were only children or people had like a bunch of kids, it's like, oh my gosh, we have that in common. Oh my gosh, I was the oldest. Oh my gosh, I was the youngest. Oh my gosh, I was the youngest. The career fields that we're interested in, the hobbies that we like. Taurus can kind of represent kind of all those different things in the world. And we could meet someone where we do have a lot of commonality. And the Knight of Swords also comes from the King and Queen of Swords. And that can be kind of, in a lot of ways, we do have maybe similar ideas of how we think things would move forward and similar dreams of how we think life would unfold and what we think is just and fair. And so we can be in some jobs and friendships and relationships for quite a long time. And for a lot of the time, maybe, everybody can kind of work through the things that kind of cause you conflict. The Five of Swords and the Seven of Swords and the Fives and the Sevens are difficult periods in relationships because we can keep going. We could have went through many cycles with people. Say you knew someone since you were 15. People could be 35 and 45 now, or 25, whatever. And we could have went through many phases and cycles with each other where we kept working kind of together, kind of on the same page. We closed out an old cycle. We faced our fears. We went to the next phase of life. We were then went to the next phase, just like you do 15 to age 18, different life experiences that you do 18 to 21. And the same thing happens throughout our life at different stages of our life. But we can stay and go through many cycles with people. And it could have been, it even could have been a relationship where we each helped each other kind of work through some of our mental conflict and our defensiveness to love, or loving ourselves because we were kind of on the same page, right? But then it can get to where it's ready to go to the next phase. And that can be when maybe people are ready to kind of go different paths. Because maybe everybody did get a little more balanced within themselves, and maybe work through. The Six of Cups can talk about issues from your past that could have made you defensive, to maybe standing up for yourself, loving and believing in yourself, maybe getting out of your head and pursuing your dreams, whichever direction, high vibe, worldly, or shadowy. And it could have helped everybody get more comfortable in standing up for what their truth was, but then you could find out that your truths are kind of taking you in different directions, right? With some of the people, you could have found out, sometimes we can get in relationships, one person is more inspired by hope and faith and belief and love, and they try to encourage other people to work through their mental conflict, to have more hope and faith and belief and love, and reconcile themselves with issues from their past and their defensive nature, and look at life from a higher perspective and have some hope and faith and belief in themselves. And it could have helped them work through some of those issues too. But then if they're not someone who's comfortable being more independent of the world, because the Nine of Cups can talk about being more independent. High Vibe Virgo is about being more independent of your more defensive, self-protective, kind of caught up in yourself or the world nature. And that can really make some people really want to stay in their comfort zone, and they want to keep doing this. They're not ready to step out of their comfort zone, maybe. Quit living more from their mind than their heart. And everybody's ready to do that when they're ready. And that could be something that, sometimes we can be in, community and relationship can help us, but that can only go so far, right? It's nice to be around loving and encouraging and supportive people. But there does come, the next phase though, is where we kind of have to do some of this work within ourselves. It's just within us. It's stuff that other people don't even maybe know that we grapple with. And that can be where some people kind of draw the line. And that's a free will choice too. I would have to put in, Virgo is earth sign energy, investing time, energy, and effort. It's one thing to work together with some people to make me feel more balanced, make me feel more stable. Taurus is earth sign energy too, and earth sign energy can be about wanting stability and security and feeling more stable and grounded within yourself. It's one thing to work with other people to feel that way. It's a whole different kind of ball game to move forward with people who've also have worked with other people to kind of gotten the It's kind of like the benefit and the stability we get just from having community in our life and friends and family and stuff like that. It's another thing to actually work through your own mental conflict about, why I'm more defensive. I can find people who are willing to work with me that maybe they're very generous and giving and I don't feel as defensive. But maybe with other people I could feel quite defensive. Why is that? It's one thing to work together with other people so long as they keep letting everybody stay here. But if they want to move forward in life differently and me have to step out of my comfort zone, well, then that kind of gets me all up in my head. And from the 7 down to the 6 of Swords is the 1 sword. You'd have to let go of something. And it could be a way of viewing a way that we think is just and fair as a way of operating in a relationship. Because the Knight of Swords comes from the King and Queen of Swords, which can, in high vibe, is, well, whatever. It's our idea of what we think is just and fair, right? And some people have a way of viewing relationships and how they interact with people and how they get along with people that is maybe their comfort zone and that they think is just and fair. But some of them could be immature, repeating some poor past patterns, but they think is just and fair. And then they want to be in relationships with people who think is just and fair. And if other people are like, wait a minute, why do you think that's just and fair? I think you lack some high vibe Virgo energy. You seem to lack some self-awareness and insight. You seem to, in shadow, you would think somebody's judgment is kind of being clouded, either by their defensive nature, their prideful nature, their immature nature, whatever. And it's like, and then other people are like, it was one thing to work with people, to work things out, right? To hopefully work together, even if it's at a job. But then if someone decides, well, hey, things seem to be moving forward, it's starting to make me uncomfortable, this really isn't my truth, and then they could go back and kind of want to repeat some old patterns that aren't conducive to relationships moving forward in a more mature, inspired, independent of your fear and your insecurity and your ego nature to do love. And then that's when a division can happen in workplaces, friendships, and relationships, right? And we could realize that some people don't want to get out of their defensiveness. Some people want to be indulged in a relationship. Their idea of a relationship that they think is just and fair is, I don't have to put in work and effort to heal from any of my past pain and heartbreak. My truth is I keep operating from my more immature, defensive, egoic nature. And I'm just looking to find someone who's willing to indulge me being that way. Well, if they can find someone who's willing to indulge them being that way, then that's a just and fair relationship. They're both on the same page. The other person could be just like them. They like a more imbalanced, out of balance relationship for whatever reason. But other people who've been in a relationship with them, some of those people have already left. They weren't willing in the 8 of Pentacles to work with them anymore. And they've already moved on, and they're kind of working through these energies again to transform and kind of see the truth of it, come to a place, the 6s can talk about coming to a place of peace and balance about it. It's confusing. When we worked with people that we thought were more on the same page as us, and then we kind of find out that really kind of more what drives and motivates them isn't to heal or grow or mature themselves or bring a dream into reality, but yet we thought that they were, then we kind of have to work through all of the emotional confusion and love ourselves and deal with the truth of the situation and free ourselves from being up in our head about it, that we've got to deal with the truth. If people were motivated and inspired to buy that dream and to be more independent, and they could just not want to become independent of their ego nature, they might have other people in their life. It could be a friend group or a friend. It could be their original family. It could be the world. If they're more about conforming to the world and they get in a relationship with someone who's not as much about conforming to the world, I put in work and effort like other people to have stability and security. But I don't have maybe as many things that manipulate me as some other people, and maybe the world doesn't manipulate me as much. I'm not so consumed with what I wear and what I look like, and a more balanced, normal person. I just kind of go live my life and treat other people the way I like to be treated, and kind of have my dreams and don't make my life so much about fitting in with the crowd. And there's some people that are consumed with that, and some people have a very harsh, critical inner voice, shadowy Queen of Swords, that could communicate to them, you need to do things like this. Shadowy Taurus, you need to conform to the world. You need to have a certain status and image. That's the most important thing. You're not supposed to align with your more hopeful, believing, loving nature and believe in your dreams. What would people say? You need to conform to the world and live your life like this. And then all those kind of things and people and whatever. Taurus energy can be like all these rules and regulations in our head. I've got to do this, and I can't do that, and I got to wear this, and I can't wear that. And if I did think that yesterday, but suddenly all the people that I think are the cool kid club are all doing something different, none of them are doing that, well then I'm not going to do that anymore either, because it's all about following the crowd. And they just, high vibe Aquarius is being unique in your own individual. And it's not putting in work and effort to try to look like some shining star in the world. I want to go live my authentic life. I want to treat other people the way I want to be treated. I want to offer encouragement and truth and love to people. And I like it when people treat me that way. And then maybe we can all work together cooperatively and bring a dream into reality, and we can all get along and be loving and encouraging. Do we all have to be the same? No. But we treat other people the way we like to be treated. You like to live your life the way you live it. I like to live my life the way I live it. So long as everybody is kind of at least treating each other in a just and fair with some character and integrity, doesn't mean you're going to want to date all those people just like they don't want to date you. You kind of view life differently. You got different things. But everybody can have some good boundaries within themselves so that we can all move forward. High vibe people and other people are just being more authentic and living their more authentic life, which some people could not understand because they could have definitely been brought up. You do this, and you act like this, and you dress like this, and you laugh at this time, and you frown at this time, and you talk to these people and not those people. And, it's all this thing of trying to mentally... It's like being a robot in the world, trying to function as a human being, but being defensive to letting their more intuitive, creative, inspired nature guide them and the decisions they make. No, that's not my truth. I don't trust my intuition. I don't trust love. I might not trust other people. But I want to look this certain way in the world. So, again, it's like creating this whole illusion about who they are. But it's not... They have a lot of lessons they haven't learned yet. Virgo energy goes within to see the truth. to quit juggling from the 1 to the 3. Quit juggling the truth. But some people are no longer juggling the truth, but they reject high vibe energy. My truth is I'm more aligned with the world. There's people in the world who have chosen, I'm more aligned with my loving nature. Some people are more aligned with their worldly nature, and some people keep wanting to juggle. I will invest in different types of people. I'll invest in some people who are more about the world. I like working with them. They let me maybe be more defensive. It makes me look, if I'm putting in work and effort with other people who are more about their image and their status and their money, it can make me look kind of like a shining star. And I didn't even have to. Maybe sometimes people just don't want to put in the work and effort with either type of group of people. It's kind of like being a social climber. I want to be in a relationship with someone who already has status, image, money, social clout, because then I look like I'm that type of person. But then they can move forward with those people. But if they're more worldly shadowy, they could also be defensive to connecting in with their more emotionally intuitive, created and inspired loving nature. And then you can kind of feel defensive of wanting to keep moving forward with people who are like that, even if they're that way too. And then it's like, I have an idea. I'm going to quit investing in those people and quit working with those people. And now I'm going to go invest in people who I think are more loving and nurturing. And I'm hoping, it could be kind of until someone puts up boundaries and stands up for themselves. Some of these people could serve a purpose in the world to try to get other people to pick their path. Because again, we come in contact with all these different people to try to help us get clear about what our truth is. If someone comes in people's lives and they're a little more deceptive, manipulative, prideful, egotistical maybe, or some degree of any of these, or just one, anybody who's in a relationship has to decide if they want to keep moving forward with them or not. Is this my truth? Is this not my truth? And whether people are more deceptive and manipulative themselves, and they're like, hey, wait a minute. I think you're deceiving and manipulating me. That's what I normally do in a relationship. I don't want to be in a relationship with someone who's deceiving me. I like to be the deceiver and the manipulator. I'm leaving. And a high vibe person could be someone who comes into people's lives to make them also decide what is your truth. High vibe people are like, I have hope and faith and belief in my dreams. I'm, going to learn lessons in life to stand up for myself and speak my truth and act with character and integrity, because I've already probably acted in life in ways that I wasn't so proud of, and that made me defensive, and I don't like feeling that way, so I've learned to stand up for what I believe in and have better boundaries within myself. I'm going to listen to my intuition to guide me, and they get in relationships with people that are on one side of the fence or the other, and then those people have to struggle within themselves, because some of them like to think they were loving, nurturing people who acted with character and integrity and had good boundaries. And then it's like, shit. I could get in a relationship with someone who doesn't require me to have that good of boundaries. I could stay in a relationship with someone who doesn't require me to put in that work and effort. So the whole thing is, are we willing to stand up to our own shadow nature and other people in the world? Are we inspired to be more independent in the world? Are we motivated and inspired by love? Or are we not? I would say some high vibe people have already communicated their truth to different people in their life. They've probably moved away from some people in their life who they realized they needed to have better boundaries to, and they saw their truth wasn't the same. And, it's like, you want to move forward interacting in a workplace or friendship or relationship. I've already been there and done that in the Six of Cups. Kind of like, I've already been in relationships with people who didn't want to move forward, being more independent from a place of truth and love that kind of repeats some of these poor past patterns. And when people show me they're kind of acting in these more manipulative ways or defensive ways, it's like, or not working with me, okay, I'm not gonna stay all up in my head about it. Again, what is it, that phrase, like, some people come into your life for a period of time. You know, we're kind of drawn and attracted to people because we do have lessons to learn from them, even if that lesson is just to help us get more clear about what our truth is and our truth isn't. And I think because high vibe people invest from a place of love, it's confusing just like it is for everyone. But they work through the confusion, don't stay in negative energy, and let it keep making them defensive. Everybody has their free will in their life to choose if they're going to act in truth or love and justice and fairness and character and integrity if they're not. And if you offered truth and love and were trying to work together with people cooperatively and they kept being defensive to it, it's like, I don't have to know what the problem is. There might be just other people. For some of them, they'd like to move forward, but they just have other things that maybe they need to focus on right now, or getting balance within themselves, or helping, and the whole thing is, it's easier if people more communicate their truth. Like, well, I have these people in my life that I might struggle within myself, but I need to focus on this right now. And you're kind of ready to move forward in life differently. I'm not. And everybody can wish each other peace and love, And some people did, some people are, some people will. But we can have a hard time speaking our truth. And so, and plus, don't want to maybe get in the argument about it. I don't want to get into, have any of you ever broken up with someone and it's like, part of the reason could be is, so if you do think that you've come to realize you think someone is kind of immature or indulgent or maybe kind of lazy or egotistical, you love them. It's like, I don't want to tell you any of those things. If you knew that you had some of those traits and characteristics, if you were to tell me, but then they'd probably say, some people even could have said, I would put work and effort into changing those things, but they never changed them. And you kind of see the truth of it. But sometimes people don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. And, and that's sometimes when people are kind of defensive, it's like, well, I don't have to know. I can wish you peace. I can offer you love, I'm not sure what's going on, but I'm feeling a little defensive in this relationship right now. I find it confusing, and apparently maybe you need some time, and I'm going to keep moving on. But some people are being deceptive. They already know, and people have pointed out probably that they have some of these shadowy ways of being. But they're trying to confuse people about the truth. And they want to be in a relationship. They want to maybe look victorious and successful. So they're going to try to get in a different job, friendship, or relationship. But the thing is, if we keep repeating certain patterns, if some people refuse to see the truth, if some people want to just more indulge in a relationship and be indulged in a relationship, lack self-awareness, don't want to have to deal with some truths in their life, I think it's going to be pretty hard for them to find someone who's going to want to keep indulging them. But, there's all sorts of folks in the world. And high vibe people have dealt with people like that. They want to invest in someone new. The only thing is, high vibe people need to... There might be people who want to, but they're still conflicted. As long as those people aren't making an offer to work with you to bring this dream into reality, from the 3 to the 8 is the 5 of Pentacles, which is Taurus energy. If we have spoken our truth to people and said, this is how I'm moving forward, do you want to move forward with me in that way? And we go invest in this new beginning, our foundation, staying balanced, standing in our truth, and certain people won't come work with us because either they still have mental conflict and they may never get out of their mental conflict. Some of them, it was a tactic, kind of like, oh, are you defensive? Are you going to stay right there? Okay, well then I'm going to go do this. And if you keep staying right there, it could be kind of like having someone as an option. And if that doesn't work out, then I'll come back and get in a relationship with you. So do not put your dreams on hold for other people. Your dreams aren't codependent on a certain person being in your life. If you've spoken your truth in love to reconcile relationships with people and they're not willing to work together with you, we have to see the difference between the 7 and the 1 is that we kind of have different dreams or motivated and inspired by different things. And then we get out of our mental conflict and kind of being in our ego about it. And we move forward and stand up and protect our loving nature. And then those might be people that we're not going to keep investing any more time, energy, and effort into. Some people, again, could want to, but they're repeating an old pattern, thinking you won't love and believe in yourself, you'll become defensive, and then that you'll like chase after them. And then it's like, oh, so you don't kind of love and believe in yourself? So we can do this relationship where it's a little bit more about you indulging me. So people can be trying to manipulate you. I spoke my truth in love, and now I'm moving forward. If people aren't working together with me, that's all I've really got to see. And so I stand up and I keep moving forward. And if people aren't willing to speak their truth, haven't reconciled themselves with issues from their past, aren't more independent, then you're not someone I could have my dream come into reality with anyway. What's coming up for people who harness some high vibe Taurus energy that they might not see coming up? The Page of Pentacles, the 4 of Cups, and the Judgment card. Why? Because of the World card. So the World card talks about learning lessons and closing out a cycle. And like I said, the 9s and the 10s are about being close to completing a cycle. And before we close out a chapter in our life and are going to move forward, it's like, wait a minute. You know, there could have been people in my life that were more on the same page as me at one time, or I thought they were. But because we had our own things to learn and went on our own journey, you know, before I go on this new journey, I'm going to reach out to them to see if they want to move forward with me in this way. And some of those people will. Some of those people are doing this work within themselves. And when they invest in loving themselves and get to the truth of kind of what makes them defensive or repeat old patterns or whatever and get more balance within themselves and reconcile themselves with issues from their past, then they don't even want to work on that old way of viewing life anymore. And they're ready to move forward, defending their more intuitive, hopeful, believing, loving nature, and to defend people in their life who are like that. So some people will learn those lessons with you, but if not, you're going to move forward anyway. And you're going to keep investing in taking that cup of love, holding yourself and other people accountable for their actions, to begin a new cycle in your life. offering again truth and love to other people. Other people who've went through similar experiences, maybe like you, where they offered truth and love to people, but the other people weren't sure if that was their truth, or they were defensive to love. It would require them to stand up against their own more immature defensive nature, and they didn't want to work through that or something, or their materialistic nature, or being indulged in a relationship in their kind of more shadowy or immature ways of being. And you'll meet those people, but we're going to quit investing our time, energy, and effort into people we've already seen the truth, that what their truth is and what motivates and inspires them is different than we already know that. And those people we definitely don't want to work with because we've already seen their truth. There's other people in our life that, it maybe seemed like we had a lot in common too, but maybe we didn't keep moving forward in a relationship because we were all kind of young or immature or focused on our career or whatever it could have been. It's to make an offer to those people to see who wants to come forward in your life, who might be on the same page as you. And if they're not, I wish you all peace, but I'm moving forward regardless. And if this isn't their truth, again, I wish you peace. I'm going to reconcile myself with the truth that everybody's where they're at. And I have my dream and they have their dream, and they're going to defend what they defend, and I'm going to defend what I defend and stand up for. And I'm going to keep moving forward, offering truth and love to work cooperatively with people in the world. And I'm sure I will find some other people who are kind of on the same page as me. And I think these cards are saying that judgment will go in your favor. If nothing else, the way judgment goes in your favor is that you learn the lesson you're meant to learn. So you're no longer the same person that you used to be. You did shed like an old layer of yourself. And we'll keep repeating an old pattern over and over and over until we see the truth of why we do that we're repeating some old pattern instead of kind of walking the talk and living our authentic life and living our truth. And some people make their life all about repeating, well, how did that person act and how did they behave growing up? I'm going to do what they did. Because we have a lot of living from your mind and your heart, mind and things that we love, but not taking creative, inspired action to live your own truth. And some people don't ever want to do that. I like living from my mind and making my life about the world. That's what I love. I don't want to have to stand up for myself. I don't want to be inspired to do life any differently. It's like, okay, well, I do. So you enjoy repeating that pattern with someone else, and I'm going to move on. And then some of those people could be defensive because they are stuck repeating this old pattern and doing what they were doing or hanging out with who they were hanging out with because they weren't willing to stand up for their more loving, hopeful, creative, inspired nature. And you're going to have a new beginning. And I think you're in line with the universe because I think life is about learning these lessons, reconciling ourselves with some of these issues of the past. That when we see the truth, that how some people want to move forward in a relationship and we kind of intuitively in our soul know that's not my truth. I can't keep putting work and effort into moving forward something that's not aligned with my truth. That is too much to give up. I have to stand up for my loving, intuitive nature that has my best interest at heart. I think my intuition was given to me as a gift. And my loving nature, all those things that make me not an animal and not a computer. Those things were given to me as a gift to help guide me in this world. And that's what I'm going to keep investing in. Loving and believing in myself. Taking that cup from the divine to love and believe in myself. And believe that the divine has a plan for my life. And it isn't to repeat an old pattern over and over. Or work with people who are deceptive or manipulative or bossy or controlling or egotistical or immature or defensive or self-indulgent and unloving. And I trust that the divine has a plan for my life. And I think when you listen to that, I think judgment goes in your favor because you're in alignment with truth and love. So what's coming up for some people who might harness a more worldly, shadowy Taurus energy that they might not see coming up? Oh, and as some of you are moving forward, there will be other people that you will meet, and people from your past and people in your present that are going to communicate. They want to talk, want to be friends with you. Sometimes the page is just like a small gesture to get to know people. And I think you'll stand up for what you believe in. You'll communicate with people and get to know them. Invest in offering people love to work together with them like you do other people in the world. But you might not put work and effort to try to bring a dream into reality. This can be just getting to know each other, kind of like children do when they're young, to find out the truth. Do they love themselves? Have they healed? Have they grown? Basically, have they learned some of the same lessons as you have? And if not, they're going to stay in the friend zone. But again, you would be looking to be in a relationship with people who are more on the same page as you, because some people, again, it's like another person. I don't want to do that work and effort within myself. Can't you be in a relationship with me and we'll do this? But I don't ever want to do this work within myself to learn to love myself. I look to you to be like the answer to my problems. Like some people look to drugs or booze. And it's like, I can only provide a supportive, encouraging environment. But if you're not willing to do that work within yourself, like they want to stay in the Seven of Swords and be in a relationship with someone who's more balanced and hopeful and believing. And it's like, no, I'm only going to move forward more involved in a relationship with someone if they have worked through their own mental conflict and are kind of on the same page. Because eventually we'll come to that crossroad, and I'd rather just kind of know you, be friends with you, and if you get there, then maybe we'll consider it at that future point in time. But I don't want to get myself, because again, if people can get people to get in a relationship with them and they haven't done that work within themselves or tempered their ego or tempered their fears or their defensive nature or whatever, well, if they get someone to get in a relationship with them, there's no incentive for them to kind of do it. And they think you won't leave anyway because you love me and you want to put work and effort to make this work. And it's like I've already been there and done that. So until you've done that work within yourself, I wish you peace, but I'm going to keep defending my dream. And I'm not... My high vibe nature that has learned these lessons, there's a part of me that would like to go indulge in that, and I could have love for some people, but I'm just not going to keep indulging people in their poor behavior. I've already done that. And people could have taken advantage of my loving nature and my compassionate nature and all those things, And that I do put work and effort into making a relationship move forward in a emotionally balanced, just, fair, in a way that looks victorious and successful. But I don't want to be the only one who that is my truth, and the other person, that's not their truth. And then it is kind of like somebody indulging themselves with you in a relationship. Well, you put in all that work and effort to make the relationship that way, but they don't. But it's good for their ego and their image, and they like indulging in the relationship, but they're really defensive to becoming independent of their defensive nature. What's coming up for the more worldly people that they might not see coming up? The Tower. Why? Because of the Five of Pentacles. So there's some people who keep being defensive to being more like authentically themselves in a relationship from a place of love. And there's always going to be other people in the world that are going to want to work together with them. But eventually people move on. Because they realize either one, people created an illusion, they were willing to bring a dream into reality, but they're actually defensive to that. Let's just stay here and keep doing this. Maybe even create an illusion, oh, I'm defensive because of some other relationship that happened in their past. And that could all be a lie. The other people left because these people are in some type of shadowy energy for some. It's one thing to give people some benefit of the doubt, but some people got in a more involved relationship. And that now they're ready for the dream to come into reality. And that's when, sorry, yeah, I'm not willing to do that. And again, from the 3 to the 8, you'd have to take back the 5 of Pentacles. You'd have to let go of an old way of viewing life and a philosophy of life to move forward in a new philosophy of life. A new way. A new way. And some people are like, that's not my truth. Nope. You can go. I'll go find someone else who I can maybe deceive and manipulate and go indulge in a relationship with. And some of these people, because they might have in their Taurus energy of self, status or image or money or attractive or charming or power or influence or money, whatever they got, and some of them, it's all just in their head and they're full of themselves. But they keep not wanting to see the truth. The tower is like the universe trying to show people this is not a solid, stable foundation. You will not have what other people have. You might look like you have what other people have, but you will be left out in the cold from what people who stand up and invest in truth and love have, because that's not what you offer people. And people see the truth of it eventually. That people in their more shadowy Taurus energy aren't willing to kind of learn lessons in life. You know, don't want to see that they could benefit from maybe reconciling themselves with some issues, maybe getting more balance, but they're happy kind of being out of balance, and that's how they want to keep moving forward. And other people see the truth of it, that it's an imbalanced way of being and an imbalanced type of relationship. And some people could have stayed in it initially, you know, because it's that process of trying to get clear about, well, is this my truth? Isn't this my truth? I kind of think this person kind of acts like this or acts like that. I really don't want to have to leave to get a different job or find a new friend or relationship. But eventually people feel left out in the cold in a relationship because it's not inspired by love. It's more, let's have sex, and oh, this is good for our ego and our image, and oh, you should indulge me because of these reasons. I know I'm kind of immature or defensive or bossy or full of myself. And eventually people are like, yeah, whatever it was that was willing to make me stay, it's not enough. I'm leaving. And that can always shock them, because shadowy energy can be kind of being in your ego. They could have thought they put on such a good performance. How would anybody see through the illusion? They create this illusion that they work so cooperatively from love and that they're this just and fair person. How did they see through the illusion? Well, they can't control other people from listening to their intuition, and other people do listen to their intuition. They might ignore it. Their intuition is probably telling them all the time, you should not be doing this. You should not act like this. This is not going to work out the way you want. But they keep ignoring it because they think, no, 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 this is a good idea. This is the way to get what I want, because I'm defensive to love. I'm defensive of being more independent, of my defensive nature, or my ego nature, or my materialistic nature, or my being full of myself. I don't want to see through the illusion. Well, things are going to keep happening. You know, it's just like if, say, somebody were in an abusive relationship or an abusive workplace, the universe tries to show them over and over and over, you should leave. You should leave. But we think, no, 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 I'm sure this will work out. I'm going to keep putting in work and effort on this because I don't want to stop putting in work and effort in it. Because the other choice is that I would have to stand up for loving and believing in myself, and I'm not ready to do that. So they'll keep staying in an unhealthy, unstable dynamic. But the whole thing is, when we know we don't act with character and integrity, it wears on our self-esteem. We're not proud of ourselves. When we let other people wear on our self-esteem, some people try to get people to be defensive, unkind, unjust, unfair, loving things to try to deceive and manipulate people because they don't want the loving people to go get in relationships with people who are more like them. I want you to stay here and indulge me, so I am going to do these things to make you defensive, to loving and believing in yourself. I'm going to try to do things to get you not to put in this work and effort to heal and look at life from a higher perspective and stand up for yourself. I'm going to try to keep getting you focused on me and paying attention to this and to that. Or go indulge in these things. Let's go do this. Let's go do that. Let's not heal, because I don't want to heal and I don't want to become independent of any of it. And so long as people keep being manipulated by other people who are being deceptive, they're going to keep, some of them aren't going to leave. Some of the people right now who are being deceptive can be surprised at the people who they thought wouldn't love and believe in themselves did. Moving on victoriously, holding themselves and them accountable, not really having anything to do with them. And then they could be surprised because there could be some people who are kind of falling for it that are coming towards them to make them an offer to reconcile. It's like, shit, I never thought that person would fall for my being defensive and playing the victim or whatever. Shit, they did. And if it's someone who they think they'd rather kind of be in a relationship with than the person they're currently with, they'll go get in a relationship with that person. It's like, shit, I can't believe that person doesn't love and believe in themselves. I can't believe this person didn't see the truth of who I was. I kind of thought that's why they moved away to begin with, maybe. So, and then as high vibe people move forward, I think it's kind of a shock for some of these people because some people do think I can deceive and manipulate all these people and not just the kind of the romantic interests in their life, but that other people could kind of see through the illusion and they don't really want to work with them anymore either. Well, I was okay with that person leaving. I didn't think more of you were going to leave. It's like, well, I don't think you were telling the truth. You know, and initially I was confused, and initially, you know, I kind of might have defended you because I've known you since we were kids, or we've been friends a long time, or you're my family member. But as time has gone by, and I've seen you kind of act in these more immature, defensive ways, and kind of feeling like you're not telling the truth, and then I see these other people who seem to not be being defensive, not trying to deceive people, not being manipulative, seem to be inspired to go pursue their dreams being authentic. I think you're the one who's lying. And then some of those people are like, you're not who I thought you were either. So some of the shadowy people, there's going to come a time in their life. You can hide the truth from some of the people some of the time, but you can't hide the truth from all the people all the time. And the people who were deceptive about the truth, eventually, you know, the truth is revealed. And there's going to be some people who aren't willing to defend them anymore. Unless they're willing to, I don't know, speak the truth about the past. And if they're not, then people are like, you keep doing what you're doing and we'll keep doing what we're doing. So there you go, Taurus. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.